Kathy Whitmore was a woman on edge. She normally spoke to her younger sister, Deanna Schermerhorn, every day. But for a week, she'd been unable to get in touch with her. Deanna, her husband, Christopher Meade, and her 4-year-old son, Gabriel, had simply disappeared.
They basically pulled in your driveway and threw the 4-year-old out and said, contact me to come and get him.
Did you see Dee?
That wasn't all that seemed curious to Kathy. Meade's mother had never seen Deanna in the car, and Kathy knew her sister would never abandon her son like that.
Okay, look, I'll be over to get Gabe just as soon as I can.
So she wondered, if Deanna wasn't with her husband, where was she? Kathy had good reason to worry. When she first met Christopher Meade, who was 15 years younger than Deanna, something didn't seem right.
This was the first time I'd ever saw the guy or anything, and he was just very rude and obnoxious.
But he clearly knew how to put up a good front.
She asked me my first impression of him when I first met him, and I said, well, he seems like a nice enough kid. And she started laughing. She goes, go ahead, rub it in, Mom. I know he's a kid. And I said, hey, it's working for Demi Moore and Ashton Kutcher. Why wouldn't it work for you? You know.
According to Deanna's brother, it wasn't working.
Outward appearances were that they were somewhat happy, but I knew that she wasn't. I knew that there was issues in the relationship. There was jealousy, there was mistrust.
Jack, I've got work to do.
Chris, it's going to come to a point.
I told Chris, I said, Chris, there's going to come a point when you two get into an argument or a fight, an altercation, and you're going to hurt her, or you're possibly going to kill her, or she's going to hurt you. His answer was,
I've already made my bed, Jack, and I'm going to sleep in it. If I kill her, I kill her. If I go to prison, I go to prison.
Were those prophetic words, or just an angry young man desperate for help? Nobody knows for sure, because just a few weeks later, the couple and their 4-year-old son vanished. And after Kathy couldn't reach her sister after days of trying, she finally called the police. When police and family members arrived at the couple's home, all they found was a note on the back door. Cops launched a search, but couldn't find any trace of the family until a week later when Meade surfaced at his mother's house with Gabriel, with instructions to send the child to Deanna's sister.
I said, it's not fitting, none of it makes sense.
When Kathy saw her nephew, she became even more suspicious because of something little Gabriel said, something she'll never forget.
He says, Aunt Kat, I'm gonna live with you and Uncle Wayne. I said, I ain't never gonna see Mommy no more.
You're not gonna see your mommy no more. Well, why's that?
Because Mommy's gone.
Now believing there was foul play, cops renewed their search in the area around the couple's home in Seven Devils, North Carolina, but failed to find any clues about what might have happened to Deanna. However, investigators believe they did find out what Meade had been up to since the couple went missing. They say these ATM photos from Greensboro High Point, North Carolina, show Meade using Deanna's ATM card. They believe he also used her credit cards in South Carolina, Tennessee, Kentucky, Georgia, and Alabama. But they had no idea where Meade might have ended up. And by 6 weeks after the disappearance, the search for Deanna had mostly wound down. In the shallow grave, uncovered by animals, was the battered body of Deanna Schermerhorn. Police broke the news to her parents.
It's just like you see in the movies, you know, when the officers come to the door, when they knocked on the back door.
I don't even remember that night.
That was the worst thing. That was tough. That was tough.
Now, it was a different kind of investigation. And cops knew what the next step had to be: finding Christopher Meade.
Mr. Meade is the most critical piece of the puzzle in this investigation, as he was the last person to see her alive that we can confirm, and also his subsequent flight and what we know in the investigation makes him a strong subject in the investigation.
Meade has so far only been charged with financial card theft. Cops think he may have made his way to New Orleans, where they found Deanna's car. It's been 9 months since Deanna's death, and police believe little Gabriel may have witnessed the horrible events of that day. But no one knows how much he remembers.
I said, son, I said, it's okay to talk about your mom if you want to. And he said, it's okay to love mommy and miss mommy. I said, yes, it is. To say when he brings it up, all we can do is try to explain to him the best we can, and I hug him and tell him how much we love him and how much that we miss his mommy. We're just lucky to have him.
Angeline, obviously you got close to this story. Tore you up, didn't it?
It did. I mean, I have to say, after all the stories, all the years that we've worked on cases, this one has touched me the most. And I don't know if it's just because of that child, because he's close to my own son's age. It has definitely impacted me.
Wade, the brother, always suspected Chris. Always thought that Chris was not the guy for her. Other people in the family suspect that?
Some other people did think that. They thought that maybe she was a little bit unhappy, and maybe there were some problems.
History of abuse?
There is, yes.
So you start tracking him. Law enforcement jumps in, and you start getting some pictures of him using her car and ATM card.
That's right. We started tracking him through any available method that we had, and one of those methods was her ATM and credit cards. And then we had, these ATM photos are actually from the Greensboro High Point area, actually using her vehicle and also using her card. And we're starting to see that, he's by himself.
Gut feeling something's happened to her?
At that point, since we're not seeing her, we know there's a problem.
Okay, now they find the body. He's the likely suspect.
I found her sitting on the grass right about here. And all she said to me was, Heather, he raped me, he raped me. He's an animal. To me, he's an animal.
John, recently you told us about a serial rapist that's terrorizing South Florida. I'm a South Florida guy and know that this is a horrible person. Any news on that case?
We got a break in the case, actually a good development. Unfortunately, it hasn't led to an arrest, and that's the key here.
This grainy black and white surveillance video is investigators' only known image of the guy they're hunting down. It's their best piece of evidence. Look closely. It's just before sunset. A man chases down a young woman. Moments later, he brutally attacks and rapes her.
The woman you're about to meet is about as brave as it gets when it comes to telling her story.
The job of catching this guy rests on the shoulders of Charlie Feely, one of the U.S. Marshals' elite manhunters. This brave young woman agreed to take us back to the crime scene on one condition: we don't show her face. She's still terrified her attacker may return.
Happened right in here. He had me down on the ground and would just start hitting me in the sides of my head.
At what point do you get from here to there?
About 30 seconds into it, I'm on the ground and he's been hitting me. Then he just kind of picked me up and drugged me over there in the corner. Right before he actually raped me, he was talking to me about Roy and asking me if Roy was my roommate and asked me what my name was.
So the name Roy came out of the clear blue sky to you?
Yeah.
And you probably tried to convince him
that I didn't know a Roy, and he acted scared like he had made a mistake or he had the wrong person, and he got up and ran that way.
Charlie hasn't been able to figure out who Roy is or if he really even exists. But the woman did give him a key clue to her attacker's identity. She got a good long look at him, allowing her to help the cops create this sketch. Unfortunately, It didn't stop the rapist. He attacked again.
John, this is the location of the second attack.
The victim, a 53-year-old woman. She was dragged off her porch, savagely beaten and assaulted. Sadly, she died 2 weeks after the attack from an array of health issues. The pain is almost unbearable for her daughter, Heather, who will never forget how she found her mother, Dawn, that night.
And I found her sitting on the grass right about here. Her pants half pulled down, and all she said to me was, "Heather, he raped me, he raped me." He totally disfigured her face. He bit off parts of her body. Her entire lip was gone. The bruises on her neck were just unbelievable. I don't know, he's an animal. To me, he's an animal.
The attack was so vicious that the rapist nearly cut off Dawn's fingers to take 2 antique rings similar to these. The rings still haven't been found. The rapist continued attacking at will. The third was the most brazen attack. It happened in broad daylight near this busy intersection in West Palm Beach.
And right about at this point, he attacks. And as soon as he attacks, he begins to drag her off the roadway and behind these bushes. But as you can see, these bushes don't provide a whole lot of concealment. Immediately, he begins to pound her upper head, her torso. Unfortunately, this victim probably sustained the most head trauma of all the victims, and it's probably because of the concrete pad.
Fortunately, she survived, but remembers little about the encounter. 3 cases in less than a year. Then, just days before our broadcast, the news Charlie feared most. The rapist had struck again. DNA linked a 4th victim, a 24-year-old woman.
Never have I been so scared in my life.
This case stands out because the rapist's MO is completely different. Rather than being attacked outside like the others, this woman was attacked inside her home. Like the other victims, she was willing to tell her story in hopes of stopping this guy as long as her identity was concealed.
It was 3:30 in the morning. I woke up, and there was a man standing right at the foot of my bed just looking at me.
Had you ever seen this guy before?
No. So I threw off my covers, jumped up, and immediately started confronting him. He went as if to hit me in the face and came around like that, and I threw my hand up, and he cut my palm open, and that's when I realized he wasn't just hitting me, he was cutting me. He had a t-shirt wrapped around his hand, and he was holding the glass. I was terrified, and all I could think was, don't let him kill me. He pushed me, and I stumbled backwards, and I fell onto the bed, and then he proceeded to rape me.
After all this, how did it end?
He just got up and he left.
Didn't say anything?
No.
Now facing the daunting task of solving 4 brutal rape cases, Charlie and his team of detectives turn to you for help.
Did you want to leave your name and number?
There was a few callers that called in and said that the city PD there in Coleman had a similar case back in 2009.
For nearly a year, they couldn't get a line on a suspect. That is, until you started calling.
Yeah, he's in Fort Myers.
Never know.
Your tips pointed Charlie to a few potentially crucial areas, giving him new information about cases in Alabama, South Florida, and Pennsylvania.
So this is a Philadelphia case where they have a rapist who has also killed someone. There is a detective in Alabama who had an attack in January or February of 2000. The date is a good clue. There can certainly be movement from state to state. You better be ready to run because there's a lot of dedicated folks who aren't going to stop.
Boy, there's some seriously brave victims who came forward in that piece. And Charlie, what about those tips? Anything pan out? Has this guy been in other states?
Unfortunately, no. Based on time frames and mostly DNA, none of those have worked out like we'd like them to.
No link. He couldn't have been in those states and come to South Florida.
No, he's definitely in South Florida at the time of those attacks and probably hasn't moved around too much.
John, 4 brutal rapes. I mean, right out in public, break into somebody's house, tears off fingers, lips. People in South Florida got to be very worried.
Yeah, petrified. I mean, the thing about this guy, too, he's different than anybody else that they've dealt with and different than most cases that I've ever seen because this is a guy that's extremely, extremely vicious.
Dr. Burke, what do you think about this guy?
Well, John, as you know, a lot of rapists are known for, committing their offenses because of power and control issues. I think this individual is particularly dangerous because, in addition to those motivating factors, he has these intense episodes of rage. Individuals that know this person likely have seen episodes of a violent temper, when he feels disrespected, particularly by a female.
This guy, the problem with finding him right now is that he may be in the United States illegally, that he's not on anybody's record books. He's not, his DNA's not in the system for any reason. You were talking about the possibility that he could be working, off the books for somebody.
Sure, I mean, it's certainly possible.
Only clues are the rings, John?
These are two of the biggest clues. I mean, we got two different rings here. They're pretty distinct, and Charlie can talk to you a little bit more about them, but this guy might actually, maybe he went to a jeweler to look at it, but what about it gave him to somebody?
That's what I say. He could have given them to a girlfriend.
Right.
I mean, I've profiled guys before who stole jewelry and murdered and gave it to their girlfriend.
Yeah, chances are this is not the guy that keeps these items as a memento. Those are other types of offenders. This guy's probably going to try to get rid of it or give it to someone else.
Violent, dangerous, crazy, sociopathic, probably strike again. You can remain anonymous. Make that call.
Where's Rosa? Where is she?
I don't know.
Rosa! Rosa! Get out of here!
When I saw the pictures, it really became frightening. Those pictures said something to me. Somebody was saying, look what I did, or go see these people.
Oh my God!
When Jan Cornell headed out the door of her Cape Coral, Florida home on May 9th, 1990, she had no idea her life was about to change forever. Jan's 11-year-old daughter, Robin, and Jan's roommate, Lisa Story, were in bed for the night when a stranger broke in through the back door. Once inside, police believe this man then double-locked the front door. He didn't want to be interrogated or with a pillow. Her muffled screaming may have woken Robin from her sleep. Police say that once the killer took Lisa's last breath, he entered Robin's room and suffocated the helpless 11-year-old child as well. Then, after killing Robin and Lisa, cops say he sexually assaulted both of them. But the sadistic killer still wasn't finished. Instead of fleeing, he remained inside and began to leave behind a trail of clues that still have police baffled. Police say the killer ransacked the place and picked through everybody's personal belongings. Then, in some strange ritualistic-like gesture, the killer laid down pictures of Robin on an ironing board. Around 4 a.m., Jan came home to get ready for work as a medical lab manager.
I just told them both before I left, don't lock that bottom lock because I won't be able to get in. I almost thought I heard her coming down the stairs, but then all of a sudden it seemed like more footsteps. And then when she didn't come to the door, I ran around the side.
That's when Jan saw that the back door was wide open.
Oh my God, was there somebody in there robbing my house right now? So that's when I looked, and the TV was still there, stereo, everything looked fine there. When I saw the pictures, it really became frightened. Those pictures said something to me. Somebody was saying, look what I did, or go see these people. And that's when I know I really, really was scared when I was running up those stairs. Then I saw Robin laying on the floor.
Robin! Please, get in here to help me!
I was screaming for Lisa to help me. I can remember trying to pry her eyes open. She just had such a frightened look on her face that I'll never forget. And she was so cold. I was holding her.
Someone to my house! Someone talk to my house! I think my daughter's dead! Oh my God! Hurry! Ma'am, please just calm down with me. Oh my God!
The Cape Coral PD has spent the last 20 years trying to find the monster who killed Robin and Lisa. It's been one dead end after another, and it's nearly driven Robin's mother, Jan, to her breaking point.
The longer that a case isn't solved, the more difficult it is to find who did it. So months started turning into years, and years started turning into more years, and then finally the 11th year, that was probably the worst, because then she was gone longer than I had her. I thought, oh my God, we'll never know.
Jan hasn't let the years of pain and frustration eat her alive. Instead of focusing on the loss of her baby girl, she focuses on seeking justice.
There never is closure. The only thing that's going to be closed is the door on the criminal's face. Finding him isn't going to make me be able to smell her, to hear her laugh. It's not going to change any of the things I don't have. But it will let me know in my heart that he is going to pay for the crime that he committed.
But to make him pay, detectives first need to find out who he is. Police say the best chance of learning the killer's identity comes from his DNA found at the scene and looking at the crime scene video, hoping to answer several key questions. Like, who do these socks belong to? Police found them on this chair, and they didn't belong to anyone in the house. Why did the killer place pictures of Robin on the ironing board? And why did the killer ransack the home, only taking items that weren't very valuable, including Lisa Story's driver's license and a brand new but inexpensive watch Lisa had bought for her boyfriend? It had an inscription on the back that read, "To Randy, happy birthday, 5/11/90. All my love, Lisa." Neither of the items has ever been recovered.
Either you have a sexual predator type person who wants trophy items from the victims, or you have an inexperienced burglar who wouldn't know what was expensive or not expensive.
But police say one of the most significant pieces of evidence wasn't something the killer took from the crime scene, but something he may have left there. This set of keys. They didn't belong to Jan Cornell or Lisa Story. Police learned this key was for an older model Toyota, which may have been the killer's vehicle. Another major clue is the keychain with a horseshoe-like logo. It's from a company called Etienne Onye that makes accessories for women. If you'd like to take a better look at the keychain or any of the evidence in this case, log on to our website, amw.com. Maybe you can help put the pieces together and answer a broken-hearted mother's prayer.
I pray that he told someone, anyone, and that they're going to come forward and have justice for Robin and justice for Lisa. Because what he did to them, it's like evil reached in that room that night and just destroyed their lives. And he needs to be found.
Let's make that happen tonight. If you know anything about this case, please call us right now at 1-800-CRIME-TV.
You know, I can't look at this case without getting angry again. It opens old wounds for me. You know, I'm always surprised to find out how many of our viewers don't know I'm the father of a murdered child. and that it took 27 years to solve Adam's case. Christy, you're relatively new to this case, too. You're looking at this with fresh eyes, aren't you?
That's correct. We're going through the file. We're checking to see if maybe something was looked over. We have two almost distinct crime scenes. Upstairs was so ransacked, and downstairs really not so much, other than the few pieces that were specifically put.
So that's a possibility. It might have been two guys in there that night.
Absolutely.
Said you've covered this story. How's Jan doing?
She's incredible. Working with her the past 5 years, I still talk to her every 6 months, letting her know that we will never forget about the case. We'll do everything we can to keep it on. You know, she's got a piece of her heart she'll never get back.
Well, give her my prayers, will you? And tell her you never give up. You never give up. After all these years, everybody talks about little Robin. What about Lisa Story's family?
She did have a boyfriend at the time of the murders, and he is actually still very involved with the case. He calls at least once a year, usually around Christmas time, and that's who the watch was for.
This
Seiko
monogrammed watch. So somebody
exactly.
might have that somewhere, might have bought it in a pawn shop.
And it is unique. It's not just a watch, it's this specific one.
The maddening thing is that these creeps, if it's one or if it's two, they've been out there 20 years having their life, and this mother has been waiting for justice and for closure. I know that Jan's waiting for this.
Well, and that's what she had said to me, was that she's really hoping that now that we're at 20 years, I mean, that's such a big number, that somebody's going to come forward and that this is our year to do it.
Good luck. Don't give up.
Thank you.
Okay, perfect. So that's got to be him. I just sent the information to the Marshal Service in Philadelphia, and they're going to start following up on it now.
It's an outstanding tip.
For the past 16 months, America's Most Wanted and the Justice Department have teamed up to bring down some of the worst gangbangers in the country. It's all part of Gang Tech, a program created to tackle the growing gang problem in cities all across the U.S. And thanks to your tips, a lot of the thugs on Gang Tech's Most Wanted list are now behind bars. Your most recent Gang Tech capture was Brian Baker, a rolling 60s gang member charged with an attempted murder and armed robbery. Your tips placed him in Seattle and led cops right to him. Tonight, let's see if we can add some more of the lowlifes we've been hunting to Gang Tech's captured list. Like Richard Sam, a member of the gang called the Crazy Mob Family. He's wanted for a shooting in Lowell, Massachusetts. When we profiled him recently, you gave investigators a lot of new leads. They keyed in on one in particular out of North Philadelphia.
That's got to be him.
That's got to be him.
That's got to be him. It's an anonymous tip, though. I just sent the information to the Marshal Service in Philadelphia, and they're going to start following up on it now.
It was exactly where cops had a hunch Sam was hiding. But when they checked the location out, there was no sign of him. As we told you, Sam has lots of tattoos, including Crazy Brother on the right side of his neck and one family clique across his chest. If you know where he's hiding tonight, please call our hotline. And we need more tips tonight on Robert Jackson. He's accused of opening fire on the crowded Las Vegas Strip in August 2007, wounding 4 innocent people. Hundreds of surveillance cameras captured the scene from every angle. Here you can see one victim limping toward help after being struck by a bullet.
This is the main.
And lead investigator John Mahalik found plenty of other images of Jackson making his escape.
He'll come running right up to this front door. That's him. He enters the elevator. A security guard goes in behind him. He asks if he's a member, asks for a room key to show that he belongs. He doesn't have one, and he's subsequently kicked out.
You think he was coming from the computer room of the library? Okay.
When we profiled Jackson a few weeks ago, investigator Mahalik and his partner tracked your tips from our hotline. One stood out because it placed Jackson in Buffalo, New York, where he's got strong ties.
tipster frequently goes to the library, and he saw the same exact person he believes to be Robert Jackson exiting the computer lab of the local public library, which would be exactly what we've been told that he likes to do, is spend a lot of time on the computer, also time at the library.
Unfortunately, when investigators checked out the library, they didn't find Jackson. Remember, Jackson also has connections in Louisiana and Baltimore. He has a baby face, but he's a dangerous convicted felon. If you know anything about where cops can find this dangerous gangbanger, call our hotline right now, 1-800-CRIME-TV.
I gotta feel you're close behind this guy.
Once we teamed up with the U.S. Marshals, we've been 10 days behind him.
Yeah.
We're getting close, and every time there's some kind of setback where we end up losing him.
I'm telling you, a guy that can open up on a crowd in a city in America is somebody that's really dangerous. You gotta catch this creep. Dan, Gang Tech has been doing great in the last year. You run their most wanted program. What's the track record?
We've put on 20 people since inception. 11 have been arrested, 6 of them a direct result of AMW tips.
Great partnership. Now, you brought some other creeps tonight, and I want people to realize that these gangbangers, they could be anywhere.
They could be anywhere, and they're so transient. Actually, 90% of the people that we've captured have been caught in other locales than where they're originally charged.
Give me some more of your most wanted.
Raymond Overly, Pagans, outlaw motorcycle gang member, wanted for narcotics violations. He's fled. We can't find him. Last time we got information, he was in Florida.
Violent biker.
Violent biker, has assaultive criminal history. Miguel Martinez, Insane Deuces out of Aurora, Illinois. Another violent gang member, leadership position in that gang. We've gotten a lot of great tips from the viewers, but we haven't been able to pin him down.
We want people to know they will be protected if they call on Saturday night or any night.
Every Saturday night these cases have been profiled. We've had a very positive response because AMW has given the investigators some mobility with these cases because of the mobility of the fugitives, of the perpetrators. We've gotten great responses with the information that's come in, and we're hoping to get more as with these new cases and the cases that have been previously profiled.
Well, local cops don't have the resources. They need Gang Tech. They need to be able to catch these creeps and bring them back to justice. Keep up that good work out there.
Thank you so much, sir.
You know, we've covered some really tough cases tonight. The unsolved murder of a mom, the fleeing husband, the prime suspect, 20-year-old double murder, 11-year-old girl and a lovely woman, and the mom is desperate for some closure. This violent rapist from South Florida that you marshals are trying to track, 4 victims, one of whom died 2 weeks after she was assaulted, and all these violent gangbangers that Gang Tech's going after. People need to find them. And I wanted to say personally, I wish you the best of luck. We appreciate your sacrifice. You're putting your lives on the line for us every day. I hope our viewers can solve these cases, get these people justice, and get these creeps off the street. So let's start looking at the cases, go over them one